Stay standing, then. Call meeting in order and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chatham, notice of public hearing, preliminary budget 2017. Notice is hereby given and the public hearing will continue to be held by the town board at the Chatham Town Hall at 488 Route 295, Chatham, New York, on November 14, 2016 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of accepting public comment on the 2017 preliminary budget. All persons interested in these matters will be heard at such time and place specified. The preliminary budget is available for inspection in the town clerk's office during regular business hours. Okay, let's open the public hearing at 6:02.
Julie Veronese, Town of Chatham, and I would like to thank the board for reconsidering their position on the town assessor, and give you credit for realizing the very important role that the local assessor plays. So I would continue to ask for your support in that light, and thank you.
Sorry. My name is Michael Azel, and I just want to make some comment on the procedure on the budget. I stated last week that there had been no publication or availability of the preliminary budget ahead of the public hearing. It only came available about 4 p.m. on the day of the hearing. I asked how anyone could have time to review it and then attend a 6 p.m. meeting with comment. And your answer was that the budget officer had a personal issue that day. I explained that I had comments but would not address those that night because I felt nothing could be discussed without the actual preliminary budget to comment on. Mr. Balcom told me they would leave the public hearing open until next week. And I asked when the vote would take place on it, and I was told that it would be that very same evening. I asked how the board could consider public comments and make changes should they agree, all in the same night. And I was assured that it would work as late as necessary. I commented that I would be leaving as I felt the hearing on something that was unavailable to review seemed wrong. After I left, I thought about everyone's comments. The responses that the budget officer had a personal issue that day was not the right answer. I was asking why the preliminary budget was not available till 4 p.m. on the day, on that day of the public comment, when in fact the notice of public hearing stated I could pick up a copy of the preliminary budget at the clerk's office on October 27th, when in fact I couldn't. It wasn't available on the 28th or the 30th. In fact, again, it was not available until November 10th, around 4 o'clock. I've learned through this process that there's a calendar for this budget procedure and that there is protocol and that this is required going through the budget process, and that protocol follows a timeline. Here it is. Budget requests go to departments September 1st and tentative budget in September 30th, but here's the big one. It says that a public hearing by Thursday following an election, which would be November 10th, and that a notice needs to be in the paper 5 days before, and at that time we should be able to pick up the preliminary budget, which in fact was not available. This is required to allow the community to be part of and comment on what our elected officials are planning to do with our tax dollars. While it was nice of Mr. Balcom to state the public hearing would stay open until next week, it actually disallowed the public from commenting on the preliminary budget that the hearing was for. Because it was not available to the public, therefore comments on it, and it's now changed form from tentative to preliminary, could not be presented to the board for their consideration because it was not available, and this meant comments on these numbers and changes could only be presented on the very evening that the board would be voting to adopt it. I'd like to thank you for scheduling tonight's meeting to allow proper time for consideration of any comments. When I left last week, you had told me the next meeting would be on the 17th, and that would not have allowed proper time to consider folks' comments. I'm not sure, but I think you needed to do this by law. I saw it announced on the town's website for this meeting, but not on Facebook page until late today. Perhaps there is something you can do to get Facebook updated in a timely manner so people can adjust their calendars to attend things like this. With that said, I'd like to comment on the experience. The times I spoke, some board members met my comments with rolling eyes and shaking of their heads. I found it quite insulting. You are placed here by the voters to do a job they expect you to do, one that you pursued. When I spoke, it was on concerns about the budget that you had presented to me. If I was wrong on the facts, it could only be because you had presented them to me that way. You could have read your notes or shuffled your papers while I spoke, and that would have been okay. But your actions in this respect is not acceptable. You should be thankful for the community members that take time out of their day to come to this process. They present their concerns. After all they do, they come here and they're not being paid for their time here. They come because they care. To disregard them and to disrespect them is inexcusable. I'd like to comment on the stipend of the council members. This had been brought to the board before, during this process, yet no one's commented. Mr. Wapner stated he would consider lowering his stipend if in fact the board was receiving more than other towns. In a survey of 15 towns in Columbia County, Chatham was the highest paid at $4,500. The lowest town was $500. The average of all the data is about $3,000. So there's your answer. Out of the 15 towns, Chatham has the highest stipend by about $1,500 per member, or $6,000 a year. I know you promised to go through every aspect of the budget, looking to remove expenses and adjust salaries to save the town from the financial calamity it was facing. You all worked hard and did a great job, going line by line, and that was until it came to you. Everyone right down to the $750 historian were either slashed or reduced. As leaders of our town, put here by your neighbors, I would have expected you to consider your stipend as an area of savings as well. I know Mr. Balcom explained that you cannot take less without a vote. I think he said it was from Albany. He stated that he was looking this over for the past 2 years. 2 years. I would have expected an answer by now. I know that the accountant said you could return part of your salary to the town and actually take a tax credit for it. With all this now brought to light, I hope you will consider returning part of your stipend to the town. And I hope we could look for you to find out how to actually lower the stipend of the board members before this just goes on and on. Not that I don't consider your work valuable. I would just like to see it come in line with the other towns in the county. I would still like to voice my concern over the deputy. The first time it was discussed at the board, it was stated that it would be a revenue producer for the town. It only later included comments that it provided safety to our community. In fact, when asked about how long the program would be implemented, the comment was that the board would have to wait to see the return on their investment. When concerns were addressed by Mr. Swartz about the vote for the program, he stated that he wanted the deputy for safety concerns, not as a revenue generator. And he was answered by another board member who stated that that would be the natural outcome, that it would just be a revenue generator. Well, here we are. We're a town in fiscal distress, and we're looking for something to help us out financially. We are told that this budget process would be a true representation of income and expenses, that this is a reality-based budget. I'm not in favor of the deputy, but if you are proceeding with this program despite others' concerns, and you have an expense of $30,000 and an income of $20,000, something is wrong. You said that this would produce income. You also told us this is a reality-based budget. So I have to assume that you expect to lose money because those are the numbers presented here. If you plan to lose money, why start this program? You have spent months telling us there's no money. Perhaps you should shelf this program till the town is in position to lose $10,000. Your reduction of the assessor's salary, the reduction in hours and benefits for the maintenance man, the lowering of zoning and planning member stipends, and the number of members on the zoning board, along with the removal of the $750 historian, clearly shows we're in no position to gamble with $10,000 loss as presented. If this number is wrong, I would ask that you put a number in that is realistic. If you had used a number that showed a profit, perhaps others would not have had to bear so much of the burden, while the board itself shared none. In closing, I'd like to thank you for the many hours of hard work that went into this budget. And I want to take a comment from one of your posts on your Facebook page. It says, while it is the town board who will give the final approval, we will always approach the process of governing with open ears and minds, recognizing that every single dollar the town spends has been entrusted to us by you, the taxpayer. I would ask that you consider that comment while considering my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Do you have any other public comments? Can you state your name, please?
My name is Michael
Blazel.
Blazel. Joseph Briggs, I just would like to, first of all, thank you very much, because everything you're saying is echoing exactly the way that I feel, and in review of the numbers I have the same perception, especially regarding the Enhanced Highway Patrol Program. It's something I absolutely do not agree with for 800 million different reasons, but as a business proposal, to see the data, that the safety numbers actually show that we need patrol, that we need to spend money to address these safety issues, whatever they are. Do we have reports that show economically, fiscally, that these safety issues are really something we need to address by spending money? So that's something that's, you know, I won't waste your time with repeating what I said last meeting, but if we're going to spend this money, one thing that I didn't say is that we should be able to see a clear return on investment, some cost benefit that really makes sense to spend $30,000. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And also, one thing I didn't say last time is that I really do also appreciate all the work that you guys have done. I know you've been burning the candle, and I really, really do appreciate that. So thank you for all of your work.
This is something Michael was talking about, is the board members' comments sometimes, I thought were very rude last time, that, oh, we're just setting up this date because of one person. I didn't think that was necessary, and I didn't think it was needed to be said.
I've just got a few questions. What changes were made? I wasn't at the last meeting. I understand there were some changes made in the budget. What were the changes that were made since the last budget?
Exactly 3, right? The 8,000.
From which time? Were you here for 11/3?
No, that's the meeting I missed. Oh no, 11/3 I was here, 11/10 I wasn't.
Last week. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
last week.
Nothing should have been changed.
Lisa noticed that we had registered the franchise fees that the town gets from the cable, that $8,000. Now, there is a line there in the B revenues, but it was 0 in the tentative. So it went into 8,000 in the preliminary. And so that's up and accounted for. And then the stipends, if we can call it that, they go to the planning board and the zoning board, the 900 and the 1,200 on the 2 chairs. That had, Tammy caught that we hadn't ran the social security tax on that. So we did that. And so the new bottom line number, is this thing on? Here we go. It wakes up. But those are the 3, Tammy.
Okay.
If it wakes up here somehow, whatever it's not doing.
Oh, there it goes.
There we go. That 6,000 number right there,
Oh, yeah.
right there. That's it's under the tax cap right now, 6,527. And so when the board meets after it closes the public hearing, it will need to decide what it wants to do with that 6,200, what did I say, $27?
6,527.
You could put it to the contingency, the 1990 contingency, or you can just let it fall against the taxes. So there'd be a ever so modest adjustment in the taxes, and ever so, this would be the tax rate right now. And again, here's your tax rate numbers over here. So if you're outside the village, add up all 4 of those numbers, the $1, the 18 cents, the 62, the $1.42, that's the tax rate if you're outside the village.
And what does that total out?
I did a sheet for Maria last week, but it didn't have those other numbers in it, so I don't know, can anybody do some quick math? Got a calculator?
Can you just select them and have a total?
I probably could. I hate missing that chart.
Yeah.
$3.24 per thousand. So that's if you live outside the village. Now, if you live in the village, you don't pay this first one. And you don't pay this one. Right? But did I pick the right columns then? I'm supposed to pick, yeah, the second and the fourth, which I've done. So if you live in the village, you're going to pay $1.60.444.
And what are those numbers compared to last year's budget's
Well,
numbers?
fortunately, we have that roll up right here. So if you're this equals if you're outside the village, you're going to see your taxes go down by 1.5 pennies per thousand. So almost same, right?
Okay.
And then if you're in the village, like I am, you're going to see an increase. You'll see 6 cents per thousand go up. And again, the reason for that is that part of the snow removal and the brush and weeds got moved over to the DA fund, or the DB fund. So that's what's causing that extra 6 cents to go up.
Within the village.
Within the village. So
And the
again,
village residents are going to ask that why?
and that's the answer, is that they're now being levied for some responsibilities that go on with the
Cleanup.
brush and weeds and 3 months of snow removal. Is that what we did?
And that's because the village is no longer doing those type of cleanup. That's what the highway, our highway.
No,
They
they,
still get taxed in the village.
they were never charged that. Again, the controller allows the DA fund, which is the broader tax base, village and town, to be taxed on all the aspects of the highway, except for the 5110 road maintenance. So already they were in the A fund paying for the superintendent's salary. And already under the A fund, they were paying for the physical plant of the garage. And already they were paying for bridges, which was $20,000 before. But that was the only thing that was in the DA fund. So you, the town board, moved some of the DB operations to the broader tax base. Initially, we had moved 5 months of winter snow into that, but it was just such an increase that the town board then said, no, 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 let's only move 3 months of winter snow over there. And of course, 3 months of winter benefits that went with that on the labor. And again, some municipalities, like you used to, only did bridges. Some municipalities do everything except for what they can't do, which is the 5110 road maintenance. You're kind of doing a blend of the two. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. The argument is that, okay, Joanne and I work 2 doors on the way out of Kinderhook. Almost every day when I leave, the first road I hit is a town road. Why am I not paying for it? You know, I live in the village. Now, state law does not allow, I shouldn't say state law, the state controller does not allow 5110. Actually, this state law. It's in my
It comes out to $6 for 100,000. So, and yeah, I think somewhere as I have in my head that the average assessed value of a home in the village is 142. Let's call it 150. So it's a $9 increase.
Yeah, on a $200,000 home, there's not a lot of them. There are some. You know,
$12.
ours is, I think, under that. It's $12. And again, the people in the broader tax base, those people that are outside the village, they'll see the taxes go down $0.015, which is, again, on a $200,000 house, that's
Not much, but it's not going up.
I want to close the public comment if,
Just I got one more question before we do. So with this budget and everything we're doing, what will be in our reserves with this budget?
ooh, reserves you won't know. You're not over here, Henry.
We have contingency.
You're taking.
All right, so instead of using the word reserves, our contingency was at 1.80,000.
Yeah, so
Stay with that?
Yeah.
What exactly is a contingency? I know what it is, but what is it when it comes to this budget?
Okay, as you know, if you overspend a line, you need to take that money from some other place. So I'll give an example. If Joe is to go over on his overtime, which is a .1, and okay, he's got to go over on his overtime, snow log. Well, what am I going to do? You look elsewhere inside the DB budget. You know, maybe he didn't spend quite as much on culverts this year, which would be a .4. Maybe he didn't buy that piece of, or got a better deal on that piece of machinery that he went out to buy. So you, the board, would have to pass a resolution to move from line yada 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 .4 up to yada 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 .1. We do that.
So basically that $80,000 is the only money that we have. If we've made a mistake or something goes over budget, something comes in an unexplained expense that we haven't foreseen.
That's the other one.
That's only in Fund A, correct?
That's only in Fund A, yeah. There is no
It's only
contingent.
Fund A.
There is no contingency in the highway funds, and there's a reason for that, because they have a big reserve.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he should be self-sustaining with what he has in that reserves.
Yeah.
We did use a little bit of that to offset.
131,000.
Right. Okay.
Now, just follow through on your thought there, because it's a good one. In the A fund, you probably will have a fund balance, an unappropriated fund balance. Remember, some of your fund balance is restricted, some of it's not. We're talking about the unrestricted part. You probably will have one at the end of this year. You won't know until March. You probably will. You've actually taken 22,000 of that because you kind of know you will, because of the resolution where you're using some money to pay the pension. So you're appropriating $22,000 of a fund balance that right now today does not exist, but you know that it will exist. In fact, you just created it, but you really haven't created it until it happens. Now, so when you do your budget, you want to have this contingency. I'm pretty aggressive on contingencies. I like to see 10% of appropriations sitting in a contingency, and I think I flippantly have said, I'm saying I'm 90% right that I know what's going to happen next year, but something always does come up. Otherwise, let's say the roof goes off this building and you don't want to do it by insurance or something, or whatever, something comes up. You haven't planned for it, so you go to that contingency to get the money. The other thing you can do if you don't have your contingency, you overspend your budget. And then you have a deficit at the end of the year, but your reserves wash that out. So in Joe's particular case, if he had something that was beyond his budget, the budget will reconcile itself at the end of the year. With the rest of the fund, the A fund, you can actually manage this as you go with $80,000. Now, if $80,000 is not enough, then you're going to have to reconcile it when your budget closes out also. And that's just another way of doing it. You're much better off to try to get your budget as close to right as possible, have a little bit of contingency there. Now what happens if you don't spend your contingency, you automatically create a reserve, or fund balance at the end, automatically.
How close are we to the 2% cap?
You're below it.
I know we're below it. How far below are we?
Well, yeah, actually your cap this year was 0.68. Remember, it's the rate of inflation is 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. So the controller set your cap at 0.68.
And what is that per dollar? What is that dollar figure? I mean, we can say all these terms and percentages, but it doesn't mean a lot to me, and it's not going to mean a lot to the general person out there either.
Your levy last year,
$14,000.
right here. See this number right up here? Your levy last year was 1,552,000. So what's 0.68 of that? A percentage point of that is
About $10 million.
$15,000. So yeah, I think David's head math is good. 0.68 is about $10,000. Well, actually, Lisa gave us a number down here. Allowable increase. She didn't give us the number.
Isn't it go with it's 1924%?
She gave us a fractional.
I think she's got 12,997.
Okay.
It's on the tax levy, right? So you got $1 million tax levy.
Yeah.
So you take 0.7% of that, about $14,000.
But Henry, what the controller, what they've done with this tax cap thing is you can't increase your levy. It's not the rate. You can't increase your levy more than whatever the percent they give you for that year. And so your levy is that number from last year.
Well, I guess what I'm looking to do is, we're below our cap, whatever it's 2% cap or whatever you want to call the cap. We're below that. If we were to take us right to the edge of that cap,
You can spend exactly $6,527 more dollars.
okay. And I guess the reason I was looking to do that is that then could be put back in with that $80,000.
I would say that would be a good move.
And by doing that, then this gives us that extra money.
Yes.
If at the end of the season or year we don't use that money, then we've got something to go back into that reserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend, because everybody under this, that extra 6,000 going against that penny and a half and the 6 cents, is going to give it another tenth of a penny.
I understand it, and that's why I think by not going up to that, everybody wants to see it lower, but we're not doing any benefit to anybody by doing that. We're better off having that extra $6,000 for that.
Well, and also, one could argue that it's noble to bring the taxes down. But on the other hand, your tax cap for 2018 is going to be based on this new number. And so, why would you want to make that number lower which is only tying their hands more. Now, I'm working with a town right now that they're overtaxed and they got a reserve to die for. And they have to break their taxes down. I mean, come on, stop it. That's not where Chatham's at.
I know, but I guess what I'm getting at is we need to replenish that reserve at some point at a slow rate, slow pace, and this seems to be a very good step.
I think it would be very prudent that when you close the public hearing and you get ready to adopt your budget, you tell Lisa and me to take that 6,000 and put it on the contingency and zero out.
I'm sorry. I'm wondering, I've been told that this is really the first time that the town has had this transparent a budget presented. Am I wrong about that? Okay, so first of all, thank you. And second of all, at the time that the vote is put forward to adopt the budget, what is the, since this must be in some ways a new procedure given the new transparency, what is the, are there any ways in which the budget can be summarized for the people? I mean, at that point, there are no more hearings, it's just a vote, right? Or is there a hearing again before the vote? There's no more hearings, so that's it. So so basically, tonight is the summary, this is it, and I mean, I guess I'm feeling a little bit...
Are you asking for like some layman kind of narrative?
Exactly, just so that all the taxpayers can understand, like, this is what's being increased, this is being decreased. It could be as general as possible, it could be, I mean, but, you know, just in some way of informing the public exactly what is happening. You know, this is our budget.
I made a statement when we started.
Yeah.
Supervisor statement.
Yeah.
And credited the people involved, and then we'll do the same thing.
Right. And again, also with some summary of the numbers.
Well, the budget will be available.
Well,
if you want the detail.
Yeah.
We're not going to put it with summary.
Actually, I don't know if you can see this up here, but see, this is highway, which is half the budget. Right. And so this is highway in the summertime. So that 5110 that I said you can't move townwide, right. This is the 5110 account. So you see that online, a person can now look up and see exactly the number of MEOs, how many hours they're budgeted for the summer, at what rate of pay, what their part-time labor is, the budgeted overtime, the longevity, and the out-of-pay differential for heavy equipment. Now, you can't see what it was because it was all rolled up into one big number.
Which you can get again because it has to go to the county total.
Yeah, because
you can see it totaled because we have to do one to go to the
county. But if you want to see the changes in the process that they went through, you can see that these numbers carried through at a certain level. And so and then if you want to see what they're spending on motor fuel, a uniform allowance, liquid calcium, gravel and stone, all that's there too. And again, that was never rolled up as one number. But if you want to see the aggregates, the numbers are sitting here in these black roll-ups.
Right. I think that what he's really asking, though, unless I'm wrong, because obviously lots of people want to know about the budget, but they don't necessarily want to go
right, exactly. What they'll see here is appropriation summary.
Yes, summary.
And I tell you, that is what you used to see, and it tells you absolutely nothing.
Right. David, last year you did a thing with the charts.
Yeah.
And that, I think we had a lot of positive feedback. And I think if you were to do those charts again for us, I think that would answer his questions very easily, very clearly.
Because this is what goes to the state.
But it does a bunch of pie charts under the Citizens Finance Committee. I think they're still there. Showing revenues and expenditures. They'll be updated.
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you.
I think that was really easy for most people to understand those charts compared to all this.
But anybody that wants to dig, it's right there.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to dig far, it's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
But I think my main question is still about how does it get presented to the public in a way that the public can, A, know about it, you know.
This part hasn't changed. This part of the budget that way. Everyone wants to keep saying it's not transparent. This same type of thing, whether we agree with the numbers or not, is what is presented. And you can't make it any less confusing. It's confusing to us.
You're right, you cannot make it any less.
It's the way it has to be reported, and it's very, very confusing. That's why I said the only way it's ever been changed to where people have been more comfortable with it was with Dave's charts. This here is what it is, and it's, you can say it's not transparent before, it's transparent now. This is still the same end result. These numbers, that doesn't change.
That's budget.
That's budget, and it's confusing.
And there's
Well, it's not confusing to me. I mean, I read, I made my notes, you know, I recognize the fact that not everybody knows. And it's not a question, it's not that they don't want to know, it's just that they haven't been they haven't been informed, there hasn't been a lot of publicity about it. There's been some publicity, which we really appreciate, obviously, but I'm just, you know, it's like I'm paying my taxes, what am I paying for, you know?
But every one of these workshops are open to the public.
No, I understand, and I'm just a little bit astonished that there's so few people here, frankly.
Oh, this is many people compared to the past.
This is more people than we normally do. Normally it's Dave.
Yeah, that was
Usually.
maybe Jim Temple.
He gave up.
Well, thank you.
Can you, based on this, pull together
Sure. As soon as it's adopted.
for Thursday?
You want to be?
Oh,
Yeah, I can do it by Thursday.
I'll have to send you
If
this.
not, let me
Yeah.
know, because I have square charts on the bottom of these that automatically show up in the chart.
Why don't you send me that, and if you would send me that?
Yeah, I'll send this to Lisa immediately to wrap up.
Okay.
Because we wanted to take out a couple comment columns on the revenue pages.
Okay, I'll get it up in the next day or so.
Have we received any emails, comments, Facebook comments about the budget at all that anyone been aware of, positive, negative?
I haven't looked at email, Facebook. Any other comments? Board?
Should we close the public hearing and decide what to do with that 6527?
Okay. Board has no more comments? Close the public hearing at 6:39. All right, so we have,
You want to do that now?
well, I think we should have a resolution. Thursday.
But just to move that
Well, I
money.
could go ahead and do it now, that way Lisa can have a final
It's just
line.
You can make changes
Just
after
under your motion.
after
Yeah, we
the
make
public
the-
hearing.
Yeah, okay.
You go ahead and do it now.
All right, Henry, you want to make that motion?
Yes.
What motion?
Move 6527.
Yeah, let's see. The actual number there is 6527. Let's see if this works, okay?
Contingency. Yeah.
Let's see if we're all linked up here where we're supposed to be. So that would make this be 6527. Now, if everything did right. Oops.
Yay!
It says 0. And it shouldn't have changed these numbers hugely. Okay?
All right, so Henry, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I do. To move that, whatever that number was,
6527.
to the contingency.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay. Is there any other discussion? No, you're okay? Kelly, you're okay?
What we need, the whole.
So now this will go to the accountant's office for final clarification.
Yeah, I should make sure all the links are right, which I think they are, because they carry through here.
Okay. And then at this point, we're left for the 17th to make the final vote.
Mhm.
To adopt.
To adopt. Now, at what point does this go back on,
Online,
online for everybody to see?
when it's adopted. It's online now, right?
Not this one.
No, well, not what,
We just made changes, that's what I'm saying, we've made a change, do we want to repost what we've just changed so the public can review that?
well, the meeting's Thursday.
What's today? It's not on. Oh, it is this week already.
So today's gone.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
That'll be posted tomorrow, because Wednesday, we're not here.
So I guess it just has to go to the accountant's office, from the accountant's office back to Beth Ann so she can post it.
I mean, it should be copied.
As the
Yeah, that
final,
was it.
as the final.
Right, she's doing copies, but who's going to authorize it to be
Final
posted so there's no issues?
Final.
And make sure it says final.
Final
preliminary budget.
Right.
Okay. I guess I'm looking, I don't want to see more confusion over what is,
Well,
somebody
actually,
should be the
It's
authorized
no longer in the
person.
form of final preliminary, it's in the form of adopted, because that's what you're gonna,
Well, it's still preliminary.
that's right. But it has the word
It's still
adopted on it.
preliminary. It's gonna be preliminary, no matter.
That's where you might want to wait, because, I mean, it really is, you're done, except for taking a vote. And I think no reason you're waiting until the 17th is,
Well, the public should see it.
yeah.
The public should still see it, and there's also a public comment period, someone still may have a comment on it. So that's why I want, somebody has to be the authorizing person to make sure that when it comes back, that Beth Ann is posting what she's supposed to post. And there's no questions what it is.
I think that's understood now.
Okay.
So it's going to be a final preliminary budget to post on the
Or
website.
preliminary budget as of.
Now, again, Lisa and I are tagging this thing. It's right now it's known as 2017 adopted budget, parenthesis 11/14/16. My guess is what she sends back is going to have that same string. It's going to say 11/15/16 or whatever she does. So just understand that legally it's still preliminary, even though it has the word adopted on it. That shouldn't offend anybody, I hope.
Well, you just
Yeah,
asked
I'm
them to
gonna-
say
I'm
final,
gonna-
because when I sent the tentative to Beth Ann, I put final tentative, so she knew that was the copy to use
That
online.
needed to be
So if we
posted.
could just put final preliminary, so she knows which one to put online, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, and whatever you call it, please send me a
Do we
copy.
need-
As soon as
So
possible.
David, I'm going to send it to you right now. You're going to
Okay.
copy on this one.
And you have something you can send me as well? or-
I had something that you just changed my columns, because I had already did the county copy, and it automatically changed the graph, so really, I don't know what you would do.
You changed,
I'll send
you
it.
changed my.
You didn't color it
No,
in.
it's my graphs, I have square graphs, so.
Oh,
Rectangle graphs, I
Kaiser.
should
Okay.
say.
Kaiser
And it compares 15 to 16, and then it compares 16 to 17.
okay. Mine is a 5 or 6 year. But send me that.
I'll send it.
I'll pick and choose.
All right, if there's no other business, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
See you Thursday.
Aye.